Hello and welcome to Two Indoor Gaming, and we're back to Creativerse and a new tutorial series for R31. Sorry it's taken so long to come out. I've been playing around wrestling with colds and flus and whatnot, but I'm back on deck, nearly gone. You might hear a little bit of it in my voice. I'll try not to cough or anything like that, but let's get down to it. How do we create a world? Well, you've probably worked this part out, but let me just go over the options for you. You just got to give it a name. I'm going to call mine Two Indoors New Tutorial World for R31. And I'm going to set a password. Always set a password, kiddies. Just make sure you may never intend to let anybody into your world, but they'll come if you don't set a password and they find out you're playing it. So let's put in my traditional one. This will change because I will change it, otherwise you'll be popping in maybe while I'm recording. Enter description, doesn't really matter unless you're trying to entice people to join in. I'm just going to put YouTube recording tutorials. Doesn't really matter, leave it blank. Feel free. Advanced options. Make sure you check everyone defaults to visitor. You may never intend to invite somebody in, but you may build yourself a replica of the Taj Mahal or something and want to show it off, and you want people to come in and see it in world rather than just screenshots. Then putting them on visitor means they can look but they can't touch. Very helpful. Even if you think I'm only going to let my bestest friend who'll never wreck my builds in, somebody might get the password off them, they might accidentally leave it around, who knows. Just put default to visitor. Just make sure if somebody comes into your world, they can't do anything unless you give them permission to. Just, yeah. PvP, that's up to you. Depends on the type of world you're playing in. Explosives disabled. Now, people can use explosives for griefing still. They're working on fixing that out. You might be tempted then to check that box, but that means some of the equipment, the tools you can use to explode for mining or just clearing land, terraforming, will not work. So I leave that on because I like to use it for some of those features. And I want to show you in this tutorial series. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. Peaceful mode. Now this and the next two options have creation only after them. When I first played the game, I sort of saw that and immediately thought creative mode only, but that's not what that is. It just means these can't be changed once you establish this world. These can be changed later, the first three, but the second three can't. It just means at creation of this world is the only time you can choose these options to have them ticked or unticked. Okay, so peaceful mode, the mobs are still there because you still need their drops, but they won't attack you. I'm pretty sure they do fight back if you do attack them first, but don't quote me on that. I've never actually played peaceful mode. Recipes don't carry over. That simply means if you've been playing around in another world, whether you want the things in the recipe tree that you've already unlocked to be there when you start the world. If you're looking for a fresh experience, then check that so they don't. Recipes you've discovered, found, or purchased will still be available, but the actual ones that you unlock won't be. Just your starting recipes. And claims enabled, and that's an important feature for multiplayer. You may take that off if you're just playing your own world, single player world, but I want to show you how that works later, so I'm going to check that one. So that's your simple options. Let's get into the game and I'll show you. First thing to remember is don't panic. You've got plenty of time in the first day to do a little bit of exploring, getting your initial equipment together, a few items that you might need. There's lots of daylight to play with, so you don't need to panic and rush and try and build a house or find your home center straight away. It doesn't actually hit night time until 10:30, and I'll show you where the clock is, so you can keep an eye on that. You do have a lot of time to play with. Okay, so here we are, and you'll always spawn in a safe zone. Forest, grassland, or woodlands, this one's called. These are safe zones. It just means that there's no aggressive mobs, so you don't have to worry about doing your thing and something suddenly jumping out and punting you out or biting on you. Okay, it's a safe zone. You'll always spawn there. Your spawn location is random on the map, but it will limit that randomness to safe zones on the map. Just a note at this point, the maps are not randomly generated. I think there's 6 templates. Don't quote me on that, but it's about that. It's a handful of templates. You'll randomly get assigned one of those maps, but it won't randomly generate the terrain. These are set up. You've got limited options, and you play enough on enough different maps and you'll find your way. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just picking up the first few items that you'll definitely need to get started, and this is mostly what it is when you start off, is just picking up some of these basic items. Now you'll see my mining glove. That's what it's called, an R-Tech mining glove. This is your axe, pickaxe, shovel, all in one. Basically, you want to pick up your cubes. This is what you use. You can upgrade this. At the moment, it's just the basic glove. It doesn't have any upgrades on it, which means I can pick up these basic ground level sort of items, but I can't pick up stone or anything harder than that. Also, it's no good for ores. You need a special tool for that, and we'll come to that later. So these are just some of the basic leaves, flowers, mushrooms. What I'm picking up here is vines. Bonus is you get the wood that the vines are wrapped around as well when you scoop them up. Be careful when you are taking items from trees. Well, and what did I say about a safe zone? That guy is a night rockstar, and he is not safe. He's just come out of the cave. Now, because he will die in sunlight, but because I am in woodlands, he's safe because he's in the shade. That is an aggressive mob. This is something I think they do need to address if they do want it to be safe, is how they come out. So do be careful of these guys. See, now he's hit a bit of patch of sunlight. He's burning up. If he finds the shade again, he will stop burning up. So it's in my interest to keep him in the sunlight, so that he'll finally disappear. There we are. He's burned up. So that's because I was excavating next to a cave, and he popped out of the cave to get at me. And now I have to try and find my chain of thought. When you're excavating from trees, one thing to know is even if you collect all of the wood, this isn't like Minecraft, the leaves do not decay. Okay, you have to actually, they're all permanent, and you would have to remove them one by one. The cubes of leaves in order to clear a space. So I do not recommend setting up house in woodlands unless you want it to be surrounded by leaves and stuff, or you want to spend hours, and I mean literally hours, clearing away. I mean, look at how dense this forest land is. It's not a good spot to be setting up something if you want it to be particularly visible. It's much better to start a home out. Out in the air, in the fresh air, and save yourself a bit of time. You can always come into a forest and harvest leaves and things if that's what you're after, and then go back to your nice clear space so you can build in peace. Now this here's a log. They're handy. You can use them much the same way as you use the wood, except it's got one bonus feature. Sorry, I didn't mean to get to that. And that is that if you could put it in a wall, it forms a window which mobs can't jump through. A lot of mobs can climb through a one square space, but they can't climb through the hollow log. And so that's pretty handy. So here we go. So we've got the glove. It can pick up the basic items. And so I'll just give you a little rundown of our HUD, our heads-up display here. If I press Alt key, that just frees my cursor. Up here's the compass, very handy obviously for navigating your way around. Also things will appear on it. This is just showing me the exact place I'm looking at, the little red triangle there, but if there were other players around me nearby, their position would show up here as well. Also, when I set my home, an orange X will appear here, and that so I can always get to my home spot. Just by pointing, getting that in the center and run until I hit it. And it'll be smaller or larger depending on my proximity to it. Another thing is when you die, you drop a death statue. With everything that was in your backpack will drop in that death statue. And it will appear here as a skull and it'll blink at you to help it stand down so that you can get back and get your stuff. Everything down here in your quick bar remains on you when you die. It's very forgiving in this game when you do die in that regard. You will retain everything, your mining glove, your weapon, and all the things in here. So you can't just put down in there everything that's valuable. You can only put in the quick bar things that are either placeable. See here, we got a little word here under this item. It says place. But if I scroll through to the mushroom, it says eat. I can't place mushrooms, but I can eat them. So those are your two options. Things you can either consume or place or use will appear down here. So yeah, you can't just hide everything you definitely want to keep in there, because ores and things won't stay there because they're not placeable. Alright, over here is that time I was telling you. It's just hit 10:30 AM. I've got 12 game hours, which is quite a reasonable amount of gameplay time, so I'm not stressed, I'm not worried here. I'm not running around frantically trying to get myself protected for the night. So we've got the time there, and a little sun telling us this is daylight time, and that will change to like a moon or whatever when it's nighttime. Woodlands is just telling us what biome we're in and the temperature. You don't have to worry too much about temperature. It's a factor when it gets too cold or too hot. You'll start taking environmental damage if you remain in that environment too long. You can get a handy meter down here that tells you when how much time you've got basically as it fills up. It also has some influence on when crops or areas where crops will grow. There has to be in a certain temperature range for crops. Down here, there's the quick bars, just like any other game in this regard. It has your items. You can quickly select it with the corresponding key, number key, or dash equals key, or you can use your mouse wheel to scroll through. It's pretty basic stuff there. I can click on it, doesn't work. This floating cursor does not work for the quick bar. That's not what it's for. Okay, we've got our stamina meter and our health meter here as well. Stamina is just used for running, and health is obviously, well, you're going to die if it gets empty. We've got here E, Q, M, and T. These are just shortcut keys and little pictures just to remind you what those shortcut keys are. Once again, they're not buttons. It's just a visual cue. E for equipment, Q for crafting. It's just because it's located near your movement keys. M for map, and T for teleport. And that little picture is this thing here, which is your touchstone. And I'll hit that straight after this. Over here's a little paper doll figure. That's where your armor shows up. It's got pauldron for your shoulders, and arms, chests, and legs. 4 different types of armor you can wear. When you first put it on, or when it's new, it's green. Then it gets damaged, go yellow, and then a pinky red, saying it's almost broken, and then it'll disappear when it's broken. So it has a durability depending on how many hits you take. I'm not sure how they work out how it assigns damage to which bit. Seems a little random to me, but there's probably some algorithm I just don't know about. Over here, this is your wielding bar, Q, I don't know what you call it, but these are the things that you're holding or wielding. So at the moment, defaulting to dig, even though, like I said, it's axe and pick out, all that. Anyway, that's your glove, and that will fill with a picture of any upgraded gloves that you have. Now, if I press tab, it's reminding me, if I press tab, it will cycle through to weapon. And your default is a stick. That's always there. It doesn't go. It does not disappear. So even though you're not holding it, it doesn't take up any space. It's like you summon it out of the ether, I guess. But when you upgrade that, because obviously a stick is pretty darn wussy, it just sort of disappears. But if you break your weapon, that will remain your default. It used to be that you'd have nothing, and because there's no punch in this game, you would be defenseless, but now you'll always have that stick as a backup. But quite frankly, with most of the mobs, it's barely a backup. Also, if you're wielding a tool, something for pet care or crop maintenance, there's one for tilling the soil, that will also be your 3rd tab option. But at the moment, I've only got 2 tab options. Now, going back to that funny little thing in our one spot, that is called the touchstone, and touchstone means home. Your home is not where you put your bed, it's not where you put a door, or where even your spawn point. It is where you put your touchstone. that is what will put that little orange X up on your bar, and that is where you'll respawn if you die. So if I place that down like so, you'll notice straight up there in my compass I've got the orange X, and that's where I can teleport to. So if I press T, now comes up in my teleport option. If this was a multiplayer world or a public social world, there'd be lots of other people here who've set their touchstone to public, so anybody could teleport to it. They'd all be listed there, but mine will always be at the top. That's the thing to remember. It'll always be first option. The rest will be alphabetical. So if I click on that, I'll teleport to there. If I press the reclaim button, it gives me a warning, because if you lose your home, it can be awfully difficult to find it again. But if I press that, it will come back to my inventory, like so, if I've got a space for it. The other way you can pick this up, if I decide actually I want my teleport to be over there near that tree in the distance, then I can just point at it and pick it up, and it's back in my inventory again. So you can do that as well. Yeah, so that's your home point. Very simple. You start with that. You can't lose your touchstone. Even if you're carrying it in your backpack, it will appear as the only item in your backpack if you die. So you can't lose it. Can't have a duplicate. It's always there for you. Right. So, those basics. Another thing that's good to pick up is beeswax. Now, the thing with mushrooms, they're very important, is they are your first link to healing. When you take damage, if you eat a mushroom, it will give you a timed health boost. So it's a small amount over... Yeah, it ticks up over about 30 seconds. If you have a potion, they're instant, but flowers are timed release. It's a different situation. Now, there's no hunger, there's no food that you need to consume to stay alive. There is food in the game, but it's for buffs and for pets to eat. It's not to keep you alive. You don't have to worry about that. Now, another key thing that we want early on is over here. See this stuff on the white tree? You get two basic trees. Cragwood is the brown, dark brown wood. Ashenwood is this grey, black street wood, and that funny stuff was moss, and with that you can create your first moss torches. They are not very good. They don't light a big area, but you need something. Well, you know, something's better than nothing, as they say. You want to move on to coal torches pretty quickly, so that you can get some visual range. And don't be too stressed about finding a home at this point, because you've got that touchstone. It's very easy to locate and relocate. Ooh, I'm going to take a little fall damage there. And the first night or so, you're probably just better setting up a home rather than your long-term permanent home situation. Just anywhere, a hole in the ground, quite frankly. You don't have to get too fancy for the first night or two. Explore a little, find a spot where you think you might set up something a little more permanent and go for it. Otherwise, so you spend this day just doing a little bit of exploring and getting your first few items together. So with that in mind, let's go to our inventory, and I'll just show you. You press E, it takes you to your bag, and here we are. Now you notice up here that this is in the moss has gone into my backpack rather than into my quick bar, because it's not placeable. The other thing we've got here is a note. Don't worry too much, you've probably read it already. It's just telling you nights are dangerous, basically. But this is a good way. How do we get rid of it? You've got three ways you can get rid of it. You can drag it down here to this little bag, and that will drop a little bag. Aha! That's handy if you just want to temporarily move something out of your backpack and you want to pick it up after, maybe you were full and you just needed something to make a recipe, and yeah, so it's temporary, and then you can pick it back up again. Or if you want to give something to another player, you put it in the bag and then they can pick it up. Just press F, it shows up again, press F again, I'll take it back into my inventory. Second way you can get rid of it is drag it to the bin, and that will trash it. If it's only one item or it's not important, it will trash it without a question. If it's something that's useful or multiple items, it'll just query, are you sure, before you delete it. And the third way, simple way, is if you're pointing at it, just press your delete key on the keyboard and bing, it's gone, just like dragging it to the bin, but with a little less effort. Over here, here's your player. These are where the armor will show. In these slots, like I said, mining cell, your weapon and your tool bar. This is showing how effective your current weapon is, and obviously 4 is pathetic, and I've got no armor at all. But we want to get a better weapon. So we press Q, that takes us to our crafting menu, or you can select it over here. And obviously the little stars is telling you, this is important, you should get this. This blue line just says you haven't made this before. That'll disappear once you have. So we want to make the wood mining cell. We've already got the materials for it. See, that's why I'm collecting things like vines and mushrooms and wood for just such an occasion as this. So we click craft, and that shows us then we've unlocked stone mining cell and extractor. The extractor is what you need for harvesting ores. There's a basic extractor, advanced extractor, and a super extractor. That's this one here. I've got that because I found it. You find that in the hardest biome of all, the corruption level. You can pick it up off mobs. So that's why I've got it. You'll see a lot of things here you don't have. I've found them. These were holiday items from back in December, January. This was something, and this came because I bought the game before it was free to play. It was a little bonus, so on. And then down here, premium blocks are blocks I've bought from the store. So you won't see any of that unless you've also bought them. Okay, so we want to make extractors. So I want to remember that. It's hard to go, oh, what does it need again, until you're used to the game. So if I click this little button up here, radial button, whatever they call it, radio button, track. What happens now is that recipe will appear on my screen once I exit to my basic view. Favorite here is something when you know you're going to be making something a lot and you don't want to have to scroll down to find it every time you want to make it. You click favorite and it just appears at the top here for you. Okay, wood sword. I don't need to track it because I want to upgrade to the stone sword pretty quickly. So instead, I'll click on stone sword and I'll track that instead. And we're seeing here is asking for twine. That is made from vines you put through this little baby here, the processor. So we want to make that as well. So let's track. That requires stone, which I can only get now because I've got a wood mining cell. Okay, did we end up? Yeah, we did make the wood sword. I can tell because it's no longer got the blue on it. Now I want to track the stone mining cell because I want to upgrade to that quickly. So that's our first items that we want to track. Watch this, I press escape, and there they are listed on the screen over here. When I'm finished with them, I can either uncheck the button or pressing Alt, giving me my cursor, I can press this little orange X to make them disappear as well. Like so. Okay, it's getting to 8:30, so it's time to start thinking about getting a hole in the ground just for the night. Now, if there's any convenient wax, I should grab that because you need that to make a door. It's either that or I just barricade myself in somewhere, you know, by placing dirt blocks, basically digging myself a hole and covering it back up again. But I'll just show you wax. I'm doing the little nerd pole. I think that's, oh, there's a little glitch that made me go crazy jump. Right, here's the wax. Occasionally when you harvest wax, you'll get a different block called a queen bee. If you replace that in the right conditions, which is basically on top of a leaf that's on top of wood, it'll harvest, or it'll grow a whole new lump for you. Basically, the queen bee will attract the little bees and give you a new hive. If you're lucky, when you harvest that one, you'll get another queen bee and you keep going. But it's not automatic. You don't get a queen bee every time, so it's not like an eternal source of wax, beeswax. But if the odds are pretty decent with it. So Now, you'll have noticed I've not gone in any caves, as you saw with that crab guy, which is just a rockster, they call him. I didn't even engage with him because at this point with wielding a stick and no armor, I do not want to take on a mob like that. And when you go into the caves, you will encounter at its base level, you will encounter the sorry, let me make a door, and I should make some torches. 8 whole torches. I want to get some stuff out of here because I need it here. Alright, I just right clicked there just to transfer it to my quick bar. Let's put a torch here just for a bit of lighting. And a door. Yay! That'll open through the dirt. That's pretty good. Now it's 10:30, so I have to be careful. I shouldn't have put the door down yet. You'll notice when I point to where the door should be, even though it's open, I'm selecting it. Sometimes it feels hard to actually open doors. That's because if you point at the actual door itself while it is open, you can actually be targeting the block behind it rather than the door. So if that's happening to you, just point to where the door should be. See how I'm pointing not at the door but in where it should be. It's also highlighted. I'm not sure there. There we go. That'll work as well. People can get very frustrated with doors early on. At its base, I'm safe now. No mob can break down your door. Okay? Once you've got a door there, there's no other entry point. You are safe until daylight. And even if you can't see the sun up here, it'll show you when it is daylight. And it's about 5:15. So I'm totally safe right now. I can weather the night and I don't have to worry about any of those nasty black and glowy blue night mobs. So I've got the night now. I've got a couple options at this point. I can create a bed and sleep the night away, or my preferred thing to do is play around with recipes. If I'm completely safe and nothing can touch me, then why not use the time to see what I unlock by using up some of those early materials that I gained running around the world while it was still daylight. Now normally I'd have a lot more than this, but because I've been showing you things like the hut and whatnot, I don't even have stone as yet. But if I dig down, I'll probably find some before long. I won't get too stressed about it. Now, one thing I will show you, see if you notice, I can't really see what that is down there, but when I point at a block, right here above my stamina meter, it'll tell me what I'm actually pointing at. So dirt. I know that that's dirt. It's not stone in shadow or something else. So that's quick way to find out what you're looking at when it's not very clear. It's also, that's very important early on when you're trying to differentiate between coal and obsidian ore, because they look quite similar, especially when your environment's just that little bit dark. Okay, so I didn't mean to press escape. I want E. I want to check. So how do you make a bed? Now I've got 2 beds here, but they're actually unlocked recipes. Your basic bed that you'll be trying to unlock is yellow. It's not red or blue. So normally this wouldn't be appearing here. You'd have no bed. And until you know what to do, you're like, well, how can I make a bed to survive? To unlock it, all you have to do is make wood wall. And you can unlock it. I need a wood slab for that. So that means I need to make that processor. You see there where I need stone for that, and then I can unlock it. One other thing about doors, sorry, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons here. Other thing to remember about your doors is that there's no difference between wood and a stone door in the standard of strength. Like I said, nothing can knock down your door. There's no physics in this, so it's not about strength to hold up other materials. It's purely an aesthetic reason. I just saw in my compass there was a flashing bluey silvery circle. That is telling me that there's a keeper nearby. That is a passive mob that will run if I try and hit it. There is that blue light again. You'll see up in the compass. That drops arc stones, which are very important for your endgame materials, but also unlock the biggest chest in the game, has the best capacity for you, and a few other materials, and it drops quite a few goodies for you, so they're always worth pursuing if you get the chance. Okay, now we got the stone that we need. We need 8 blocks for our processor, and I can show you unlocking the bed. Just suck some of this up. Now you'll notice with that, the recipes I've been tracking, processor there on the left is now got 3 green items. Just turns green when you've got all the things you need. So not only does it remind you what you need for your recipe, it reminds you how much of it you need, and it'll turn green when you've got all that you need for that item. So we've got enough for a processor, so let's build that. Go back here. You want to make more of these. There's no way to speed up your processor, unfortunately. And when you're trying to process some of the higher level materials, they can take quite a long time to cut into slabs or rods or other things. So you'll want multiple of those when you do set up your home, just to get through the stuff you're trying to process more quickly. Okay, this is very helpful. It's showing me exactly what is processable. Anything below this line can't be put into the processor. I can't use this item for that. But everything above it is. So if I right click there, it'll show me what it can make, how many of it it'll make with one of these squares, and also how long it'll take. 10 seconds. Now, stone. There's slabs and rods that it will unlock. So I can hear in the background a mob. One of the oh, have I made that spawnable down here? Got to be careful if it's too dark. I better put a torch down, or I will have one appearing inside my safe hole. It won't be so safe anymore. Anyway, yeah, that sound is a miru, and their eyeballs you will be keeping for making some of the other equipment in the new level, upper level equipment beyond stone. Okay, so yes, there's the processor. So we put in make some slabs, because we need those to make the wood so that we can unlock the bed. So there's slabs and rods, and you'll need different things for different recipes, or both things for some recipes. Put that in. And it will come through, it'll show you exactly how long left. Very helpful. If I press F, it'll collect everything that's ready. If I press F when there's nothing ready, it'll actually close it for me. Just little handy shortcuts there. So, collect there. So we've got enough for an extractor, but we don't want that yet. What we want to do is make that wood. Down here. Make wood wall. And you'll see it unlocks the bed for you. That's all it takes to unlock the bed. And then we scroll down and you'll see what the bed requires. Shredded leaves, wood rods, stone rods, and twine. Again, if you've got a bunch of vines, you'll be able to make twine. A bunch of stone now is available, wood, and shredded leaves that come from the leaves I've sucked off the trees. Very simple materials, very easy to get in that first day. And you'll be able to make a bed. The bed will take the night away. If you hop in the bed at any time before dawn, it will take you to dawn. If you hop in it during the day, it'll fast forward you like 8 hours or 12 hours or something. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but that's what you can do. Alright, so there we go. The sun's up. You can see up here, sun's up, 5:15, the sun comes up. All those mobs will be burning away unless they're hiding under trees, and I'll be able to get into day 2 just like so. So there we are. I've survived the first day. No stress whatsoever. I've done far less than I would have normally because I was talking you through a lot of things. You'll be able to achieve much more than that. Collect a lot more stuff, play around with your recipes, unlock stuff, see what you can make. It's all good. We've got the wood, first sword, first mining cell or mining glove here. So we're up from the basics. Next, this day, I'd be looking at getting me one of those pigsies and chopping them up. That will unlock the armor. And so that's what I look at on day 2 is armor, taking on mobs, and yeah, a few other things like that. So stay watching. That's how to survive your first day. Remember, rule 1, don't panic. Explore, enjoy, and do what I didn't do. And that is put down your touchstone when you do set up a hidey hole. Yeah, that's important. Just means if I was to run out or accidentally kill myself falling down a hole or something, I'd reappear there in that hidey hole rather than at a random spot. And yeah, in day 2 I'll talk you through the map and how that can be useful as well, because we haven't really looked at that function either. And one last thing I did want to mention, this little number here, very helpful. How many spaces you have left in your backpack, it shows you right here. There's a total of 40, I've only used up 4, means you've got plenty of space. You'll find yourself looking at that a lot. It is one of the handiest features about this game, is just that quick glance to spot what's in your backpack. Okay, have fun playing Creativerse, stay tuned, I'll show you what's next to go into the next level in your game. Thanks for watching, Chew Indoor Gaming.